Okay, so I'm not here at the moment because I'm having a baby. Again, my life is worse than yours. So we're going to have a look at page 196 onwards. There's a couple of things here that we just want to cover. Present tenses and neutral language. And we're going to do neutral language first because it's basic and we'll get it out of the way. I just want to cover all these different bits so that I've got all the material I need for exams, just in case, again, I won't be writing them. So let's have a quick look at neutral language and then we'll move backwards to page 196. Neutral language, page 197. Neutral language is unemotional language. Words associated with beliefs and attitudes are not used in neutral language. Facts, not opinions, are presented in neutral language. There should be no bias in the text. This takes us back to what we talked about when I was discussing some of the material in here, where it's very biased. You remember the video we watched about Eliza Lamb? Very, very biased. It spent almost half the video's runtime explaining why he was right. I'm not saying he's wrong. I personally think there was more to the Eliza Lamb story. There's a lot of things that don't add up, and a lot of things that he deliberately glossed over, even though he was showing you on the video that what he was saying wasn't strictly accurate. But he was very, very biased. He was trying to encourage you to sympathise with his side by using things like, it's stupid, it's science fiction, it's nonsense. He kept saying things like that. Very biased, no use of neutral language. To protect it was a bit of a stretch. I wanted you to see that video so that you can see an illustration of something done badly. Sometimes you learn as much from seeing something done badly as you do from doing something well. So neutral language is where we are discussing something in purely scientific, rational, logical terms. And it's something that's almost a forgotten art these days. You almost never see it. Look at the Ukraine-Russia situation at the moment. Everybody is saying Ukraine are heroes. Putin is a despot, a dictator. These are not uses of emotive language, and they should never be used by world media. And if you see things like this used in the media, you should be very, very suspicious. To the point where I actually put on my website an article, there's something going on in the Ukraine. It's not right. There's something very, very not right out there. The world media never gets behind a country like this without there being a good reason. I've never seen the world media come together to do the right thing before. So I'm very suspicious that something else is going on in the Ukraine. And as I followed the story, it turns out that main energy producing companies in the Ukraine are run by the Biden family. There you go, straight away. Then it turned out that in the Ukraine there are very questionable bioweapons technology labs that were right up near the Russian border producing bacteria and plagues, which we all know we've just gone through a phase of manufactured plagues, and they were ordered to destroy them, which is against international law, and they were ordered by the US government. So it all looks like there's something very, very, very suspicious going on in Ukraine, and everything that we see on the news is not to be trusted. So when you see non-neutral language, you should become very, very suspicious. There was an interesting thing on the news with a clip I saw the other day where it said about Donald Trump. It said Donald Trump is trying to tell people what to think. Well, that's our job. And a newscaster said that with a straight face. It's our job to tell people what to think. And they honestly believe that they have the right to change your opinion and to force you to think what they want you to think. Now that is extremely dangerous. And this is why, I mean, when I talk to my friend in Japan, Seth, he says that the news there is very boring, but very honest. Now, it's not interesting because they don't use emotive language. They don't try and stir you up. They tell you the truth and they let you decide. That is absolutely the right way to do it. It is not the way that you see American, English, or any Western news media outlet coming out with anymore. And that's extremely unfortunate. The BBC, for instance, used to be the envy of the world because it was completely non-biased and it was honest. And it's none of those things anymore. And it's very sad. So read the following passage about the tradition of shaking hands. What words would you use if you wanted to include your own opinions about this tradition? Shaking hands is a relic of the caveman era. Well, I think we're already off to a bad start. Relic implies that it's left over. We absolutely don't know that. A relic also implies something that's of no value. So again, I don't think this is unemotive language anyway. It's not neutral. Whenever cavemen met, they would hold their arms up in the air with their palms exposed to show that no weapons were being held or concealed. Let's, for the sake of argument, assume that that's actually factually correct. No emotions here. This palm in air gesture became modified over the centuries, and such gestures as the palms raised in the air, the palm over the heart, and numerous other variations developed. Again, so far it's stating these as facts. It's not trying to convince you of anything. What is it trying to get me to do? The modern form of this ancient greeting ritual is the interlocking and shaking of the palms, which is performed both on initial greetings and on departure. Again, this is a bad example from the book because this is not something we should really be invested about or caring about. Usually show a hero or a villain because that's the way our minds work. Shaking hands is a leftover relic of an ancient era where humans were much less intelligent. Now, if I was to say that, then that would imply that shaking hands should be finished. And that's exactly what you see in news around the COVID era. It's a relic of a bygone era. We don't need this anymore. We should be cold and logical and just obey what our phones tell us. Whenever men met, they would raise their arms in submission with their palms to show no threat to any other person. We can add these kinds of things. What we're talking about is words like submissive, dominant, aggressive, powerful. It's accusations, it's baseless, unfounded nonsense. And we see it on the news all the time. If you want to see a great example, just look at CNN. Just watch a news article from CNN on YouTube, and it's extremely loaded with emotive language. A better one is Fox Australia, oddly enough. Fox News is a joke around the world, but Fox Australia is sometimes interesting. It's very anti-left, and because it's Australia, they don't know what they say. So again, they use a lot of emotive language to attack Biden and the left wing, and at least it's funny. So check those things out for a great example of biased language where they're trying to get you to take sides. And the joke of this is, of course, that anybody watching CNN is already left wing and anybody watching Fox Media is already right wing. You're not convincing any new people to join your side. You're just making sure that you don't lose the ones you already did. It's all propaganda. News is all propaganda. So that's neutral language, what it is, how it works. Now let's have a look at page 196, the present tenses. Now this is like any other tense. There's three tenses, and I know you struggle with them, but let's have a very brief overview. There's the past, present, and the future. There's the past tense, where things happened. There's the present, things are happening. And there's the future tense, where things will happen. And we subtly change the sentence for all three sentences so that in English we know exactly when we're talking about. Now, although you don't have that in Khmer, it is a very, very important idea. And if you screw that up in your writing, you will never be taken seriously. If you write one sentence in the wrong tense, you will be treated as a non-English speaker. It's as simple as that. So tenses are incredibly important, and it's something you struggle with. Not saying that's fair, it isn't. But you must be good at tenses. When you're starting to do applications for universities, foreign exchange programs or whatever, you must get your tenses correct. Otherwise you will look like a second-rate speaker, and nobody wants you. Nobody wants you, because I can go somewhere else and get a much better speaker for less money. So you've got to make sure you get this right. So we're going to look at the present tenses, and then we're going to watch a review video of the past tenses, because they're essentially the same thing anyway. They work very much the same way. Let's read through what it says in the book, then I'll run the video, then you can do a quiz on this, and then we're done. A variety of present tenses are used in explanations to show events occurred in relation to other events. See, we use past tenses a lot in English so that we can put things in the right order. That's what makes English such a very widely used and accepted language, because it's very specific. I can give you a short sentence, and because we use tenses and lots of different language, lots of different words to say the same thing. Our sentences can be short and extremely accurate. In explanations, the simple present tense can also be used, can also indicate, the type of statement being made. For example, a statement of fact or a statement about habitual activity. So the present simple tense can refer to an action that is a known fact. The dog shows submission by rolling on its back. So it will happen. It is happening. The dog shows submission. Yeah, okay. I don't agree with this. God, this book. The dog shows submission by rolling on its back. This means it's happening right now and you're watching it. In the future tense, a dog will show submission. Present tense, if you were talking about it as an abstract concept, dogs show submission. You would take the S off and simply say dogs show. So simple present tense, dogs show, or the dog shows. I don't think the sentence they've given you here is probably the simplest or the best. The example above indicates a way in which a dog would show submission. The simple present tense can also indicate actions in the future that are definite. This is particularly effective when you want to give the other person control. No arguments there. The above example refers to a situation that has not happened yet. Verbs in the simple present tense take the base form when the subject is plural. They take the plus S or ES form when the subject is singular. So, plural subject. Most people relate the dead fish handshake to weak character. The human uses the palm up gesture to show submission to others. So in these examples, most people is plural, relate, no S. The human singular uses. Now turn those round. The person relates, or humans use. If we were to switch from plural to singular, you see how it rotates. Initiator tries to give the receiver a good impression. Initiators try to give the good impression. As we turn it from plural to single, we swap the S off on. I hope that makes perfect sense. Should do, it's pretty straightforward. Got to fly. The present continuous tense can refer to an activity that is happening at that particular point in time, or one that is of short duration. The person is trying to control. Simple as that. The person is trying to control me. The present continuous tense is formed in this way. He is behaving normally. So is or are plus continuous form of the main verb. Pretty straightforward so far. Note that the continuous tense is usually used with action verbs like show, raise and hold. And the present perfect tense refers to an action in the past that still has an effect on the present. I really don't like the way they've titled this. I would think this should be a past continuous tense or something like that, but I really hate the way they've relabeled this. They've chosen to label these things. You have just met someone for the first time. So you have met them for the first time, and that is continuing into the present. The present perfect tense is formed with the following way. Studies of successful people have revealed that. Okay. Which present tense is commonly used in the passage shaken hands? Why is this so? Okay. So these three things, they're the same in the past, future tenses. We've got simple, continuous, and perfect. Now, simple is the base form. It's happening right now in front of us, and it's very nice and simple to say. Jack teaches English. Jack is teaching English. No, sorry, that's present continuous. See, I struggle with this too. The present continuous tense. Jack teaches English. Then the present continuous, an activity that's happening at this particular point of short duration. Jack is teaching English. It's not going to last forever, especially not in terms of grammar. I try and keep these as short as possible because I hate it as much as you do. And the present perfect tense is something that happened in the past that is continuing into the future. Jack has been teaching grammar. Jack has started teaching grammar. Continues into the future. So, while I think that these are not fun, always good to do some present tense review. So, Now, I'm not here, I can't make you do this, but I strongly suggest you do. I guarantee this will be in the final exam because there's so little grammar in here and this is such an important thing. I would make sure it's in there, and I'm sure anybody else will too. So section 6.7 of your activity book, please continue and use that now as a review exercise. Go through it, make sure you understand it. Then check out the video that gives you information, and then there will be a quiz on Google Class. And we're done.